everyone, it's Samantha here again, saying a big hello and hope life is treating you very well. I'm doing okay this week. Thank you to everyone who sent me some lovely messages about my son who was poorly last week. He's actually doing a whole lot better and he's back to college and that kind of thing. So thank you for that. So today I thought that we would have a look at this absolutely gorgeous, they call them Egyptian Coil bracelets. I think it's based on a spiral actually, essentially, and obviously if you look back into time, Egyptian pottery apparently had these coils on them. Absolutely beautiful on the wrist. You could probably make a really beautiful necklace with that as well. So I think we'll go through this today. It's in gold coloured wire. Aren't they beautiful? So we'll just quickly have a look at the construction of this beautiful thing. Each one of these links individually made, and they hook over at the back like that. So much articulation in this beautiful piece. It's very fluid, and look how I love it in the raw copper. Actually, it's a beautiful colour. Look at that, how gorgeous is that? You can see the articulation in it. Okay, so we'll go through a list of materials that we need to make for this gorgeous piece, which isn't very much at all. So let's, here's just some silver ones that I'm making for a silver one. So we'll just move these out of the way, and for today's tutorial I'm going to be using bare copper wire. So again, like with a lot of things that we make, we'll use the 1mm 18 gauge bare copper wire, but you can use any type of wire with this. You're going to need some flush cutters as usual. You're going to need some chain nose pliers, as always, just for close-up work, that kind of thing, if you need to adjust anything. 6-step bail making pliers. Again, these are my plier of choice. I like the open spiral that they make. Some people like a more sort of closed spiral. I like the more open ones, so that's entirely up to you. Once you know what you're doing, you can make them as you choose. Or for those people who are more proficient, you can use your round nose pliers, okay? And just basically a little ruler just to measure out your lengths. I'm going to be working in centimetres today, guys. So obviously you can work out the equivalent inches should you want to do that, okay? So let's clear the table away and I'll take you through how to make this beautiful bracelet. Okay, so I'll see you in a second. Right, so before we get going, just a very quick note about the functionality or the psychology of making pieces that have to be the same size and shape for consistency. So I've found that I make more consistent pieces or links if I have like what I call a production line. So I suggest that you guys do the same thing. So cut all your lengths at once and then do each stage with every single length so that you get the same consistency of shape, the same consistency of loop, these kind of things. It's just what I've discovered over a period of time. If you make each link individually, sometimes you can be prone to having them slightly different lengths and slightly different shapes and spirals. I hope you understand what I mean, but that's my advice, is to do them like a production line, okay? I'll show you what I mean. So I've made all of these little links individually. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to obviously measure out our 1mm wire, 18 gauge. So take our flush cutters, and again, like with most other things, flush cut the end, okay? And from your spool or your coil, straighten the wire out, okay? Each one of my links measures approximately just under 1.5 centimetres which is about 1/2 inch. I use 14 centimeters of wire. Okay, so again, if you want the inch equivalents, you can work that out for yourself. You don't need me to tell you. Okay, so cut your length. So what I'd suggest you do is, if you want a bracelet of a particular length, then cut out, you know, I think I've used 17 of these for mine. Bear with me for a second. And I'll just measure this. So 15, 16, 17. Yeah, so I think each one of these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, okay, so yeah, they're about 1 centimetre wide actually. So with my measurements, each one of these is about 1 centimetre wide. Okay, so that fits my wrist. I'm a relatively large-ish lady, and I prefer a bit of drape. So as long as you go for each one of these links being 1 centimetre, okay? So I would cut 17 lengths of wire. Right, so the first thing we need to do is to make the coil on either side, okay? So take your wire, and I use the smallest step on the plier. Again, putting it right at the edge so you can't feel it, and just gently flick the wrist round until you have the start of a coil. And again, on the other side, you want the coil to go in the same direction, not in the opposite direction. So make sure that that coil start is facing away from you. Okay. And again, with the wire right at the end, you start your coil. So you're left with this. Okay, so you've got a little loop starting on either side. Okay, so bring in your flat nose or chain nose pliers and start making the coil. So just use the pressure of your thumb and bend the wire around, grasping the coil lightly but firmly so that you've got some purchase on it. Just bend it round until that piece of wire is facing downwards. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, and then round for a third. Okay, turn it over and do the same thing. So start round and round and round until you match the other side. So it's facing downwards like so. Okay, so let's just measure this. If you want to do them all individually, that's fine. So I've worked out that each one of these lengths here needs to be around, well, as close to 5 centimeters as you can. So this is just slightly over. So I just give that a little tiny tweak. As you see, the tiniest of tweaks. Okay, and that's bob on 5 centimeters. So I would go ahead and make 17 of these, okay, and then we'll meet back in a second and I'll tell you what to do next, okay? Right, so once you've made, I've said 17, but that's for my that's for my wrist. Okay, so make as many as you like. I'm sure there's lots of you out there who are a lot more delicate than me, so you'd probably only need about 14 or 15. I'm making 17, so go ahead and make as many as you like, and you should have, let's say, 17 for argument's sake of this. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do is we need to make this hoop shape. Okay, so we come in with our pliers, and I'm going to be using the second step this time. Okay, so we hold the wire thus, okay, so that if you're right-handed, so that the the spirals are facing towards the right. Obviously, if you're left-handed, you do that in the opposite way. And we need to be bending these this way, okay? So get your pliers in the center. Some people like to actually mark 2.5 centimeters, or the center point essentially, with a Sharpie. You can do that if you like. Okay, so holding like so, bend these guys away so that they meet in the middle, okay? And this is what we're left with, okay? If you find that one of these spirals is offset slightly, just readjust things a little bit, okay? But this is what we're looking for, okay? So again, I would do that with all of your coiled pieces so that you have consistency, and I do find that it helps, you know, keep everything nice and consistent. Okay, so what I like to do is to flatten this part ever so slightly. The reason being is I just think that it looks a little neater, and it gives a nice effect. Okay, so you just basically come in with your chain nose and very, very gently holding these two pieces between the thumb and the fingers, just very slightly squeeze, not too much, just to bring that in. You don't have to do that, it's just the way that I do mine. Okay, so go ahead and do all of those bits, all of those pieces, and when you've done that, I'll show you the next step. Okay, so the next step is the noisy step. What I call the noisy bit. What we want to do is just very, very gently give the spirals just a slight tap. It just gives them a little bit more stability, works the wire a little, makes it a little harder, okay, because it still can be quite bendy. So keep your fingers out of the way, obviously, be very careful, not like me the other day, and I ended up bashing my thumb, but there you go. So we want to just very lightly just give them a gentle tap, just to give them some stability. Again, if you don't want any flattening of this surface, I like the way it looks, but if you don't want any flattening, then use a nylon hammer, which will just, you know, give the wire some working, but it won't obviously give it any texture or any flattening, okay? So this is what we have. The next thing we need to do is to bend this guy over, okay? So here we go. So using the smallest step on my plier, I position the piece like so, just maybe a millimetre or so above where the top of the coils finish, okay? And then holding here, I rotate my plier ever so slightly. Can you see the angle that we have there? Just ever so slightly. Just gives it the start and enables this hook shape at the top, okay? So just ever so slightly, and then taking this part here and making these stable with your thumb, bend away and downwards, okay, so that you have this loop. Can you see that? So we've bent the loop around. Okay, now you can, if you want to, leave these guys separated. Again, it gives for a different look. I like to come in just very, very gently, squeeze them together a little, which when you do that brings the two coils down slightly, don't know if you can see the angle as I turn that. You see the angle of that? I just think it gives it a really nice effect. So, but if you don't want to do that, then just pull them back up a little bit so that they're flat. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. Can you see the bend of that? It just sort of brings the coils inwards slightly and gives it a really nice effect. Okay, so that's our piece. Okay, so go ahead and do that with all of your lengths of wire, and then we'll come back for the next part. You're doing really well, guys. Keep going. Right, so give yourself a massive pat on the back because this is brilliant, isn't it? So we've got all of these pieces here that we've made with real consistency, and each one of them should have the very, very similar length of loop. Okay, here. Yeah, can you see that? So they're all pretty much the same. Now the next part is how to connect all of these guys, which is really, really simple. Okay, can you see how, I mean, such a beautiful piece. I love these. This one's for my mum, actually. So what we do, we take our first unit, our first piece here, and turn it over so the back side is showing, like so. So the loop is downwards, okay, on the back side. Take our next piece, okay, so with the front side facing, so we have the back side facing here, the front side facing here. Turn it so it looks like so. Okay, so the front side, the back side. Okay, now that loop here wants to fit through this loop here. Okay, so with a bit of wiggling, can you see how that happened? Okay, and then with your nail, push that one down. And that's the first one joined. I'll do another one for you. So with the back side upwards, with the front side upwards, and rotate slightly so that that is looking like that. That is the loop facing upwards on the back side. That loop goes through this loop here. Okay, can you see how that works? And then you fold it downwards so that the back side is facing. And again, push that loop downwards to secure. Okay, so can you see how they're all fitting in? I'll do another one. Back side facing upwards, front side facing upwards, whoops. Rotate it so it looks like so. This hoop through the center of this hoop and pull it like so. Okay, and look how that's starting to look beautiful. How gorgeous are these? Absolutely beautiful. So continue with that until you've linked them all, okay? And then you've made yourself an absolutely beautiful Egyptian coil bracelet. Celebrate. Have a cup of tea. That's what we do here in the UK. We celebrate and have a cup of tea. Okay? So do that and we'll meet back and we'll congratulate each other. So how did we get on? I hope you did okay. I hope you enjoyed making this really pretty piece. I've just been having a look at the gold and the silver and the copper actually. You could probably do alternating colours or just copper and silver would be really, really pretty, wouldn't it? Or gold and silver either. There's no end to the combinations. You can actually mix metals quite nicely these days. I think it's quite old-fashioned, isn't it, to say that you have to stick to one metal. But I hope you had a really super time making these guys. And I'm just working on the bright sari silk earring tutorial as we speak. So hopefully that'll be in a few days. So have a lovely week and I'll see you soon. Bye guys.